we're asking him to play. Again, I think it's sort of been probably a recurring theme for me up here with Raekwon. You know, it's just you forget, just because of his maturity, you forget that he hasn't played a lot of football for us. And I thought he got a lot better last week. You know, coming downhill in the run game and striking a little bit, and you know, playing a little bit stouter for us and firmer in there for us. So I was happy to see him do that and kind of make that step. He had a couple really good shots of him taking on a lineman and doing some of the things that we're really looking for him to do. So you know, happy with sort of his progression. And again, I just always kind of cautious that, you know, myself as well, that, you know, his maturity and his presence kind of makes you think he's well ahead of where he is sometimes. So you know, there's still some things he's got to work on, but he's been doing good. And Bake's probably the same way, you know, obviously different style of play and personalities, but the things that we're asking Bake to do and the roles that we're trying to put Jerome in, you know, he's doing a good job for us. So honestly, I probably felt I should have probably got Baker in a little bit more last week in different situations. Kind of the game kind of had a little different rhythm to it, but I probably could have got him on the field a little bit more. So try to utilize his skill set a little bit better. So.
Chase opened with the starter Sunday just because of a unique package.
Yeah, we're trying to roll those guys again. Try to give guys different roles, and obviously Chase as a bigger linebacker, and he's got a giant head on him, and can use that to do some things. So yeah, we just try to use him in a little bit and take some stuff off him, and trying to put all the guys in a position to succeed and to utilize each of their skill sets. So you know, Chase is a guy that's, you know, proven to us that he's, you know, capable of playing on Sundays, and so we're going to try to find a role that he can help us win ball games.
Like, explain to me your thought process. Obviously, Rashad Jones's shoulder injuries is something you have to be careful with because of the nature of his position. But if you're forced to play without him, does Minkah go back, or are you comfortable with him where he is at nickel, or does Maurice Smith get into the equation there?
Oh, man. Think I'm going to answer all that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all of that. You know, again, you know, part of the reason we train the guys the way we train them, you know, again, you're never going to go through a season 100% healthy. I mean, obviously, you know, even just if it's little bumps and bruises and nicks and a play here or there series. So, you know, it's one of the reasons we've cross-trained a lot of those guys at different spots. And, you know, I think the ability, you know, for Minkah to play a couple different spots and for Bobby to do the same, and some of those guys, and, you know, obviously bringing Mo up from a guy that's been in the system and been, you know, around the program. It's not like he's a new player for us. So, you know, he has a familiarity and all those guys. So, you know, it's the same. It's just probably a similar answer to the linebackers. You know what I mean? Like, we'll take a look at how we have to play certain guys, whether it's the safeties or the nickels, and put those guys out. But all those options are available to us, which helps. You know, I wouldn't say that. You know, again, we've continued to try to get Minkah some work at different spots, you know, so it's not like, man, he's only been playing down the nickel and now, I don't want to move him back there. You know, we keep training those guys and moving guys around. So he's been getting work at a lot of different positions, and again, we feel good. You know, we'll feel good about putting them all in a spot that we think is the best group to go win on Sunday.
You mentioned with Bobby in your answer to Omar here, has his work outside in the first two games been pretty much what you had?
I'm sorry, can you say it again?
Bobby McCain?
Yeah, has his what?
Has his work outside in the first two games been pretty much what you had?
Yeah. Yeah, certainly. You know, again, Bobby's a guy, you know what you're going to get. He's gonna compete and bite your face off and play hard and do it right, do the way you're asking, and that's what he's done. So we can win with that for sure. He's done a good job. He has saved us. I mean, I made a hell of a play on that at the end of the half there. I mean, it's an unbelievable play by him. So yeah, he's been good.
What one physical trait does he have that maybe stands out above others?
He's quick. You know, he's a quick player. You know, so he's a, you know, I know people think he's sort of a smaller guy, but he's a physical player at the corner position for a quote shorter guy. So with his quickness, and he's kind of like, he can strike people and stuff, so he can get hands on and he can mirror routes and stuff like that. Again, he's been used to playing in the slot where there's a lot of stuff going on in there. He's had to fit in the run game, so he's not afraid to do that. You know, he's got a physical, presence to his game, and then also he's had to match up a lot of quick players in that world. So, you know, moving out there, that's just not. It hasn't been, you know, a change for him. He's kind of utilized that skill set, his quickness, his toughness, his tenacity, and kind of just transferred it a couple yards outside.
If you weren't a defensive coach, how much would you enjoy watching Marshawn Lynch play?
That's hard to get out of your blood there. No, I mean, I respect the way he plays, obviously, and has played for a while. And, you know, yeah, as a defensive coach, I think just by nature, we got an offensive head coach. You know, like, you appreciate the physical nature of the game. Like, we try to pride ourselves on being a physical team and a physical defense, and that's, you know, kind of something on our side of the ball. That's kind of how you have to play. And so, obviously, when you have an offensive player that plays a physical brand, that there's a level of admiration and respect for a guy, and it's done it for a long time and runs hard. And, you know, again, you know, to me, he's one of those guys that you know what you're getting, he knows what you're getting type of thing, and he's not afraid to go mix it up. So, yeah, I mean, I have a level of respect and admiration for the way he plays and how hard he runs, and he's a tough, hard-nosed dude and fights for yards and all that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I have a level of respect for the way he plays the game for sure.
What areas has Xavier made the most improvement since you got your hands on?
Like 3 years ago, hands on. Can't go back that far. You know, I think with X it always was. I mean, I think his physical skill set really has never been in question. I mean, he's tall, long, he can run, you know, all that sort of stuff. So, you know, I feel like probably I've answered this like in terms of last year. Like, his growth comes from sort of the knowledge of like a game and starting to understand how teams are attacking him, or just seeing the nuances of splits and leverages and sort of like route concepts and matching things, you know what I mean? So the more that he plays for us and the more he sees, I mean, again, if you go back that far, I think some of the things that he missed where he lost some time as a rookie with the injuries and some of those things where he just didn't get that bank of knowledge, you know? So the more he plays, I think he just keeps growing in the confidence of understanding like what an offense is doing to attack him and recognizing splits and stems and route concepts and studying, you know, those sort of things. So I think his sort of just like football knowledge or just like kind of awareness just keeps expanding the more he's on the field for us, which, you know, is sort of like a cyclical thing. Then his confidence grows, you know, like you see it with X when like we practice something like, hey, if they line up like this is what you're going to get. And it happens and he jumps it. And then he gets confident about that, you know, and then it just sort of builds. Now he's like, okay, give me something else that I can kind of sink my teeth into. And so like the sort of him having success recognizing certain patterns and routes and those sort of things lends to confidence, which then kind of refolds back into he wants more and more. And the more kind of he experiences that and has success with that, I think he just keeps growing as a football player.
So Matt, everyone saw the pass to Bilal Powell, the touchdown.
Yeah.
What did Raekwon do the rest of the game that, you know, on pass defense, and what does he have to do to keep that from happening again?
Yeah, I mean, and listen, that's not he had poor technique on that. He opened his hips up on it, and you know he was worried about. He kind of overcommitted to the flat route and Powell angled back underneath him. You know, we should have a little bit of help there. You know, we shouldn't isolate him like that. So I mean, it's not just him. We need to get that down on the ground and live to fight another play. You know, I put him in a hard spot, you know, so, but he can help himself with better technique. Again, he kind of flipped his hips and tried to run. He was kind of, I got to get out there right now. And then when the guy angled back, he couldn't get his hips back to kind of plant and come underneath it. So, you know, I put him in a tough spot. You know, he didn't have great technique, and then we didn't get help from anywhere else that we probably should have from a couple spots. So it was kind of a multitude of things. It wasn't just on him. But I think, you know, again, everyone sort of highlights that. I mean, I don't know if you noticed him the rest of the game, the passing game, which is a good thing. Which is a good thing. I mean, I think that's probably the answer more than I'm not trying to throw that back at you. Like, you know, he didn't get targeted a lot. I mean, he was in the right spot. Again, he has a really good feel. He's maybe the opposite in terms of like sort of that last answer with X. You know, he has a good feel for like route concepts and what's happening in the passing game. You know what I mean? So when we play him sort of in zone coverages and those sort of things, he kind of has an understanding, okay, that guy's going here. This is probably what's going to show up in this window. So he does a good job of like closing windows and zone coverages and kind of recognizing route concepts and those sort of things to put himself in a good spot. So if we're playing those type of coverages, he usually doesn't get targeted a lot because he's in the right spot and he's closing down whatever windows he's supposed to be closing down. So again, I put him in a somewhat of a man matchup there, and it's a tough matchup for him. And again, he can help himself with better technique, and we got a couple other guys that need to kind of help him finish that playoffs better too. So, but I thought for the most part he did a pretty good job in some of the stuff we were asking him to do. I mean, it's a, that offense is a quick passing game offense. The ball's out and they're running all those screens and shield type plays and those sort of things. So, he has to be a guy that's running and hitting and making a lot of tackles because the ball's going to be in the hands of those receivers quick. And I thought he did a good job with some of that.
Is Baker close to competing for playing time in the nickel?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we work him. He got a couple reps last week. And again, maybe, that's a place where maybe I can get him a little bit more work in that world. Again, like a matchup like that, putting a little bit more speed in the field. But he's got to earn it. He's still got a ways to go in some areas. So, yeah, I mean, he's done a good job in that. And again, we keep spoon feeding him a little bit more and more, and sort of trickle down economics, and just sort of getting him a little bit more and more every day. And hopefully, it fills him up a little bit, and he's ready to go. So yeah, he's fine. It's not that we don't have confidence in him. Again, it's just kind of find the right time and the right spot to get all those guys in the field, whichever matchups we like.
And based on the stage of where Jerome is in his career, is Kiko still in your mind your person best equipped in coverage at linebacker?
I think it's, again, this game has become such a matchup game. I think that's week to week. I mean, there's probably some, Kiko's probably got about 15 pounds on Baker. So, I mean, there's times when we feel that that's probably a better matchup, having he's taller, he's longer, a little bit bigger body, so that may be a week where we feel that's a better matchup for us. Baker is a quicker, he's obviously lower to the ground. He can run. He's probably, don't tell Kiko I said this, he's probably faster straight out, right, and stuff like that. So, I mean, those are different matchups. I mean, sometimes we'll say, hey, we like Kiko in this role. Sometimes it may be Bake. So, obviously I thought Kiko played an outstanding game last week. So, I have no qualms about the way he's been playing football for us.
We've beaten you to death
with
tight end questions and concerns the last couple of years.
I know you guys are really concerned.
You guys made some major moves. Minka, Jerome Baker is supposed to help with the tight end.
Yeah.
How confident are you that it'll make a difference against a player like Jared?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Jared's had a successful season so far. He's had a lot of targets. Obviously, he had some success against us last year. So, that's part of the reason we try to bring some of the players in that we brought in, and again, similar in terms of like having matchups, players that we like in different body types and different roles for different types of players. So, Cook's a guy that obviously we have to be aware of and what they're trying to do with him, and they're trying to get him the ball in a lot of scenarios. So yeah, I mean, that's the game plan, is to try to have some different body types to throw at him and try to take some of his game away.
How different is it for a defensive play caller when an offense like the Patriots or like Oakland, their primary is the tight end? He's not the guy getting the check down. He's getting a good amount of targets.
Yeah, I don't know that, I don't know that necessarily it matters in terms of what position that player plays. I mean, every week there's going to be the one or two guys that you're saying, hey, these are their guys. I mean, it's not like we're going to put 6 guys on Cook and leave Amari Cooper, hanging out by himself either, So there's always, built in with certain calls that you just like better, that sort of feature more positive coverage on some of those guys, you know what I mean? So the fact that he's a tight end, I mean, I don't know that that changes a whole lot of stuff in terms of just more like, hey, these are the calls we're going to lean on, or the ways we're going to try to, isolate those guys. I mean, with a guy like Cook, I mean, they flex him out a lot, so he ends up being in wide receiver spots anyways, you know what I mean? So it's not like he's always doing it from the line of scrimmage. I mean, that's a different kind of release point than some other spots. So, I think that's just every week. Again, just want to talk general stuff. I mean, we look at what they're trying to do on offense, and we try to take it away. So obviously every week there's going to be a couple guys that they're trying to feature and get the ball to, and it's our job to try to negate that. And this week, he happens to probably be one of those players.
What do you think from Charles Harris in the first 2 games?
Yeah, honestly, I think he's a little bit like Raekwon, just in terms of getting better and better every day. I mean, he had the sack negated last week. It's kind of I felt bad for him, whatever, but. It would have been good to he had a sack and kind of was getting the momentum going, which just for, I think he gets frustrated sometimes. He hasn't had as many of the positive results, just end results sort of statistically. He's had a lot of pressures for us and affected plays, but he just hasn't had that putting up sack numbers, which I think he gets frustrated sometimes by. So it was cool to see him get the sack. I mean, it stinks that it was taken away by the NZI, but But, you know, that's, again, all we really want him to do is get off the ball and cause havoc. I mean, he's an explosive player. You know, we just keep telling him, put your hand down, get off, and good things will happen. And I thought he was better last week, this past week, than the first week in terms of doing that stuff. So, you know, again, hope all these guys are on a trend that we just keep getting better every week and getting better every week. And those guys that some of the, you know, he's still a young player for us. I mean, he played more obviously than Raekwon did last year, but just hope that all those young players keep on that trend. If we keep saying, hey, every week, man, okay, he got better. And, you know, we don't want him to press. Those results will come. If he keeps playing the techniques and the style we want him to play, you know, those will come. You know, I mean, and it's a luxury to have a first-round draft pick that, you know, we're throwing 3-4 other guys in with. You know what I mean? Like, it's nice that he plays 20 to 30 snaps or whatever it is, and he can throw his fastballs and give us different looks. So I think if he just keeps playing the techniques and playing the style we're asking him to play, the results, the statistical results will come, because he has done some positive things for us. You know, so I think we just try to teach him not to get frustrated and just stay the course, and that stuff will work out.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, boys.